Joining me now, I have Trump campaign National Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt with more this morning. Karoline, as always, good morning to you. Let's talk about Madison Square Garden last night. I mean, a historic event for your team with some 20,000 people. Maybe you have a more updated number than I do on my end. It's not going to get bigger than that here in the next 8 days. So what's his plan to carry that momentum through November 5th?
Well, it's great to see you, Markie. And last night was an epic night for President Trump in our campaign. Nothing is more iconic in New York than Donald Trump in Madison Square Garden. And New Yorkers showed up. There were 20,000 people who packed the arena last night, and there were thousands more outside who unfortunately couldn't fit because every single seat in the House was taken. And it was really an epic way for President Trump to kick off the final week of this historic campaign. And he gave his closing message to not just New Yorkers, but the American people last night, and telling them that he is going to fix all of the problems that Kamala Harris has created. Kamala Harris broke our border. She broke our economy. She broke our standing and respect on the world stage, and only Donald Trump can fix it. It was an amazing night, amazing energy, and the spirit and momentum is really palpable on the campaign right now, and it's reflected in the polling as well.
And speaking of the stage, Karoline, you know what I'm going to ask you next. We're waking up to a lot of headlines this morning about comedian Tony Hinchcliffe calling Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. The Trump campaign has come out, of course, and said his comments don't reflect Trump's views. My question is, why did you have him in the first place? I mean, a comedian who does roast, what did that bring you, or what did you think you'd gain from him a week out?
Well, it's America, and Americans love comedy, and it's an expression of First Amendment rights. But look, it was a joke that was done in poor taste, and obviously the joke by this comedian does not reflect the views of President Trump or our campaign. And the crowd last night, when you were in the room, understood that. And I would add, this was one of the most diverse crowds President Trump has ever seen. It's a reflection of the broad coalition he is putting together in this campaign. Last night, there were Arab Americans, Jewish Americans, Black voters, Latino voters, men, women of all ages from all over the country who showed up to hear from President Trump. And I think the American people in those last night care more about the truths that President Trump shared on that stage than one flat joke from a comedian who spoke very early in the night.
Let me talk about Vice President Harris. She's been stepping up her warnings about your boss and told this to supporters in Philly on Sunday. Take a listen.
We have an opportunity before us to turn the page on the fear and the divisiveness that have characterized our politics for a decade because of Donald Trump. We have the ability to turn the page on that same old tired playbook because we are exhausted with it.
Now, in the past few days, she's called Trump a fascist. Tim Walz compared last night's rally to a pro-Nazi event. Obviously, Trump no stranger to name-calling himself. But what's your message to voters who listen to these comments 8 days out and don't know what to make of them, Karoline?
This is more than name-calling. This is divisive and dangerous inflammatory rhetoric that is coming from the political left. Hillary Clinton labeling half the country as Nazis for supporting President Trump. Kamala Harris calling President Trump a fascist. These are unequivocal lies, first of all, and they're incredibly dangerous. We've seen heightened political tension in this country. We've had two heinous assassination attempts on President Trump's life, largely because of this political rhetoric. It needs to stop. Kamala Harris has a responsibility to end it. I'm not sure if she will, because this is their desperate closing message to voters. Kamala Harris can't run on policy. She can't run on her record. She's been the weakest and most failed vice president in our nation's history. She's broken our border, our economy. We have war in the Middle East, war in Ukraine. None of that was happening under President Trump. So they can't talk about the issues. So they throw these lies at the wall, hoping they will stick. But again, they aren't sticking because President Trump is polling better today in 2024 than he ever has since 2016, despite these heinous attacks by the Democrat Party. And by the way, why would we believe this? President Trump was in office for 4 years, and look at the state of our country, our democracy, and the world when he was in office. We had a historic peace in the Middle East. America was stronger and strengthened by President Trump's leadership. So the fact that they are calling him a fascist, it just doesn't work.
I got to end it there. Karoline Leavitt, as always, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.